Hello and welcome to Free Cheese episode 384. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. For those of you keeping score at home, this is season 8, episode 24, but who looks at that outside of iTunes? Well, iTunes isn't there anymore. How are you guys on this hot Monday morning?
Oh, still haven't slept yet.
6 weeks now?
Give or take.
Yeah. Yeah, you're burning the midnight candles at both.
That's okay. I'm a robot.
Candles.
I thought you said he was about to snatch the midnight butter.
I
Got
did
that
have
midnight
some.
butter in me. Have you had any midnight butter this week, Matt?
No, I have not, sadly. Actually, I've been actually going to bed decent hours here. I thought I was up late to 3 a.m. last night, but no, Mark definitely beat me there.
You thought 3 a.m. was decent hours.
Well, I thought no, not like decent, but like, oh man, I'm up real late today.
Oh, okay.
Man, my schedule lately, because it's never consistent. We all know this. Nothing new. For how many years now? I don't know. But
As long as I'm
now it's gotten to a point where I'll probably start getting tired, like a vampire when the sun comes up. But it'll be like 8 or 9 a.m. and I fall asleep watching Beast Wars. That's my new thing now.
Oh, sick. Where's Beast Wars playing?
Tubi.
Nice.
I'm on season
How's that
2.
hold up? Are you chasing down the toys? I feel like I'd want all the toys again.
Look, it's getting to a point where I'm starting to pick favorites as I'm watching a show, and then from there it's like, you might be a toy in the future. I might go to eBay or something. We'll see. So far, season 2 Rat Trap is in the lead.
Dude, man. It's funny, when
I hated
Transformers
him before.
came around when that movie happened, I did not get it. I was like, what are all these old people? So by old people, I mean like people that were 10 years older than us. But I was like, why are all these people excited about stupid Transformers? But then, Beast Wars? Are you kidding? And
Dude. It's the same animation group that does Reboot. And it's like, I don't know if you ever watched Reboot.
I never watched it. I remember it, but
Oh man, they're gems. They're both gems. Just Canadian animation studio. They were ahead of their time.
No, I remember the KB Toys aisle of all of the Beast Wars toys, and oh god, it was so good. There was something truly magical about those little toys. Special time.
There's a sound clip I'll have to show you later, because when they transform, they say a phrase. So right. The good guys are the Maximals, and so they'll say their name and then maximize, and they transform. And the bad guys are the Predacons, and they'll say terrorize. But there's one that's a pterodactyl. I think his name is Pterosaur. But when he fucking transforms, he sounds like he's in a grindcore band or something, because he'll be like terrorize, and it's like holy shit.
The blast
And then he
beats kick
dabs
in.
with the things.
Yeah, it just.
Did you collect Beast Wars as a child, Matt?
No, I did not. I was never into the whole Transformers thing.
This was not Transformers, as you'll note. I thought Transformers sucked.
Okay, anyway.
There's a Transformers subtitle underneath Beast
Wars, however.
Yeah, I never got into that. What I was more. I don't know what.
You're more of a Zoids guy.
What
That's a Zoid.
I don't know. I wasn't really that much of a cartoon person. I watched my Dragon Ball Z. I feel like every other kid did, and a little.
Matt
bit
actually enjoyed
cartoons.
the sun. That's what we're learning.
Here's the thing, though. I did too.
I'm a gremlin.
No, I had plenty of time outside. We did all sorts of stuff, but
That's true.
I
Yeah,
think
feel like
that
I
was
played,
just generational.
video games a lot more.
I mean, I remember doing that too, but
Yeah, this was a show I didn't catch a lot when it was airing. I would see it in bits and pieces. I didn't realize it lasted for I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and then had a sequel and didn't even realize under a different name. I was I wasn't really paying attention to it anymore. And
I mean, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I remember when I was being homeschooled still, my grandmother would come watch me during the day. I would have SportsCenter on the TV, so that's where I was at.
okay, officer.
Just saying, this started as a young child on my obsessions.
I mean, if it's in the morning, I can kind of understand that, because cartoons in the morning on weekdays, if you had cable, wasn't the greatest. You had shit like Baby Looney Tunes airing, and it was like, no.
But you also had a pup named Scooby-Doo.
I did like like Scoob.
But how much did you have to sit through?
Not to be confused. The little, not to be confused with the new series, Scoob. No, but little Baby Scoob. Yes, the kids. I like that. I watched Scooby-Doo. I watched pretty much all the Indigo League of Pokemon in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man, 5th grade.
I think the best thing I had was the we've talked about this before, but that Batman, they've redid the same toy like 9 times for every movie or animated series, but the Batman Batcave that like collapsed into itself.
Yeah, because we had 2 different ones, right? Yours was from Returns.
Yeah, I had the Returns one.
I had animated series.
Yeah, which I didn't know existed until years later when I went to go try and buy back my childhood on eBay, and I was like, "What? This isn't right."
What a way to save money.
Yeah. Speaking of not right, we did not get a full predictions episode complete last week. You know why? We didn't hear from Akko. In fact, Akko, speaking of sleep schedules, woke up right as we finished recording last week and said, "Oh, dude, hope you guys haven't recorded yet. Here they are." So, we're going to hit up Akko's 5 predictions for 2021 to start off the show. That way we can get the proper predictions article posted on the website. First prediction. Number 1. A Banjo-Kazooie reboot that is being developed by Playtonic will be announced.
Whoa.
Yeah. 2. Speaking of Rare, a few old Rare N64 games will be put on Switch. Number 3.
Okay. I'm assuming he's talking about like the originals, like something from Rare Replay.
Yeah. Because this kind of goes into his number 3. Nintendo 64 will be added to Switch Online service.
If only. Oh my god.
Number 4. A Resident Evil Outbreak reboot.
Ooh, I would play that.
And number 5. Nintendo Switch Pro releases at the end of the year.
I'm liking this Nintendo theme going on.
Pretty good.
I don't like that last one. That kind of directly goes, not directly, but goes against my release date of summer, so I'm not liking that. I don't know about that Outbreak thing, because I think that multiplayer thing failed epically with Resident Evil 3, so I'm a little concerned.
Well, I just hope they realize that they did like the wrong type of multiplayer for that. Like, they tried a Counter-Strike clone, and now they've tried like I don't even know what to compare this to.
It was kind of like a Friday the 13th style thing, but
there was like some strategy
X, right?
to it.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't. No, wasn't it like someone controlled like the dungeon, but like you couldn't control Mr. X? You were just like, I'm going to put Mr. X here.
Oh, you can play as any of the enemies. You can take over. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, then you could play as Mr. X. There you go.
But it costed points.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like that. What was it called? No, it wasn't called Outbreak.
Resistance.
That's it. I feel like that
Operation
kind of,
Raccoon
but maybe that was enough of like a hey, we wish you would just do Outbreak, so do Outbreak, and now they're doing Outbreak.
We'll see.
Just need true co-op.
So that wraps our predictions. And moves us into I beat a game this week again. Again. Rolled credits on Ring Fit Adventure, got New Game Plus all wrapped up. And the whole game's different now. Literally. Because you
Can I see your thighs?
Huh?
I just want to see how swole your legs are at this point for New Game Plus.
No, I had you turned down a little bit. I thought you said the main character dies, but I see you want to see my thighs. I got it. Okay, so New Game Plus. I've been playing this game generally every day since release. Generally, there was a period of time where, like right after it came out, I slipped, like after that Thanksgiving or whatever. But for most of 2020, I've been making sure to close my Apple Watch rings I haven't missed a day since like a week before work from home started. I've closed rings every day. So I've been playing this this is the workout outside of skateboarding, which I can't do right now because it's 27 degrees outside. Thank you, Matt. New Game Plus in Ring Fit Adventure is just playing through the adventure mode again, except now the dialogue's slightly different. Like all the characters that aren't mad at you this time, they're kind of like, it's still the same story. It's just they're doing it for fun now. When you beat New Game Plus, and full spoilers ahead here for Ring Fit Adventure, you unlock all of your skills get upgraded to level 4. So they all do the same amount of damage at level 4, and there's no recharge anymore. So it actually makes the game easier to play through, but the workout way more difficult because it's now on you. Because already, even playing through New Game Plus, I'm like, well, I could just do this arm thing where I just spin the ring, and that's 1,000, you know what I mean, damage each time I do it. I could just do that, and there's no recharge. You could just literally walk into every battle and just hold your arms up in the air and spin them, which obviously isn't a workout. So the thing before is like you'd have a cooldown on the moves that you would use, so you're kind of forced to have a workout routine. In this, not so much. It's up to you. So it's about being more honest and diligent, I think, with your workouts. But
well, like it will still have like the themes of that level, though, right? Where like there's a focus on core or arms, right?
Yeah, it'll say like, hey, you should use red fit skills, green fit skills, etc. So, because as far as I've seen, New Game Plus is just the same world all over again. It's just more difficult. So, like, I think right now where I'm at, I think my character level is like 297, and the world that I'm in, all of the things are recommended 290. But it like slowly, ratchets up. Each world gets a little more difficult. And this one is supposed to be like extra difficult. So I think the world before 290 was 286. So I think it just keeps jumping. And I don't think my experience is going to keep jumping. But, at some point in the last couple months, I'd say 2 months, I had finished the skill tree. I unlocked everything in the skill tree. Now I had like a ton of money. So I went through and bought every clothing top that you can buy in the game, except the level 3 ones. I'm still working on the level 3s because I ran out of money. But yeah, little bits like that. Like now I'm just trying to go back in and like just check off complete everything in the game.
Is there infinite New Game Pluses? Like, can you just keep doing it? Because then it's
I would assume so, but I don't know.
Are you using this as your like routine exercising? Because isn't there also like a custom like playlist you can do for workouts? You can make your own
and
exercise
honestly, that's what got me through most of the year working out. Because the general adventure part, depending on, like Matt said, like depending on the world you're in, it might be a more yoga focused world, and I'm looking for more cardio. So that's where the custom stuff really plays into it. And I found myself more often than not spending my time this year, because I feel like I should have beat New Game Plus a long time ago, but I was spending way more time in the custom stuff, building my own routines out of like whatever. And I don't have like a strict like Monday's this, Tuesday's this, but I did find myself Tuesdays specifically like waking up, hopping on, and that would be my running day, like Tuesdays and Thursdays usually. So that would be just time spent in the custom whatever. Where the other times I might spend time in adventure mode, or maybe like there were some times, especially when I was skating a whole bunch and my knees sucked and feet hurt and everything was bad, where I was like, I can't go skating because everything hurts, and I don't want to run because that sucks. So I would just do yoga, and I would literally just set up a string of yoga moves and just do that for a couple hours or whatever. And I think that like I like having the variety and the option there that they give with that. But it was neat seeing that beating New Game Plus actually did make a difference. It wasn't just like, you did it again, here's a hat, which I did get right before beating New Game Plus. You get like a whole cool armor suit or whatever. But
is there a Zero suit?
A what?
A Zero suit?
In a way, yeah, just with a headpiece, kind of. But it also, yeah, it's like a bikini. It's kind of like Samus's original Zero suit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll leave the surprises to those out there chasing that New Game Plus. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna still keep going with it. I do kind of hope that a couple things, like the Joy-Con interruption has still never gone away. There's still the occasional thing where I'm like, I know I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing, but you sure aren't registering it. Or ones where like maybe if there's like a twist one or whatever, like I turn and on the screen like the character's still facing the wrong way. It's like you got to swing a couple of times before it realizes the Joy-Con has moved. Mm. And I've tried that with the Switch in different positions in front of, behind the TV. It doesn't seem to make a difference. There's always like a bit of that disconnect occasionally. It's never enough to be like, well, I can't play this, but it's enough to be like, come on. I do find that often when the Joy-Con malfunction the most, the game rewards you with perfect rhythm. So like, it's like, way to move to the beat. Go again. So I've noticed that a little bit more. So I mean, like in a sequel or in an expansion, I would hope that they start selling that ring maybe separately. I don't need a new one. I think it's fine as it is, but I'm sure that people have beaten the heck out of it at this point. But I think that it'd be interesting to just be able to download the campaigns at will. Although I do feel like any sort of sequel or expansion should build upon this instead of just kind of skipping. Like I feel like you should play through this. I don't know. Maybe they'll do something that surprises me. It's Nintendo, so
add a new tool or something.
Well, no, I have your surprise. So From Software is very famous for the New Game Pluses being kind of capped at 7. You can keep going, but the difficulty of the enemies and health bars and things like that get capped at 7. What I'm convinced now is Nintendo secretly has made a partnership with From Software because Dark Souls has been ported to the Switch, that after you beat this 7 times, on the 8th time it just turned into Dark Souls.
The whole world it's just a filter that waves down from the top of the screen and just...
Yeah. Or Frog Fractions 3. One of the two, I'm convinced.
I mean, Drago very well could be a Dark Souls boss.
Yeah, sometimes it's as hard as 1, 2.
Yeah. Speaking of dragons and things what are deep underground, we played some Deep Rock Galactic together. And I know, Mark, you've been spending a lot of time with the game outside of that, but we got to play together last week. Where have you taken Deep Rock Galactic? Like, now that I can speak the language a little bit better, have you played since then?
Yes. I think yesterday was probably the least amount that I've been playing. Like, I've played almost every day since we've played. But I was trying a new class. Like, at first, I was the gunner, which is like your default when you're doing like the tutorial or something. For people who don't know, he just has like a revolver, a chain gun, sticky grenade, whatever, your typical assault class. But I wanted to try the driller, so I started playing with him a lot more, and that's been tough because he probably has the most, probably the least convenient traversal tool out of all the classes, because it's just drills for hands. And it's cool for drilling, right? Like, obviously, like, it's good for, like, digging through stuff really fast if you need to get somewhere, if you need to try to get up to something, and pickaxing is taking too long. Cool. But, man, did I wish I missed having a zip line a lot of the time. But, I leveled him up pretty well. He's almost caught to my gunner now. I think my gunner's, like, 10 or 11, and I think my driller is... I think he's about 10 now. I think he just reached 10. But I mean, that flamethrower is just too good to pass up. And I even caved in and bought some DLC, just cosmetic stuff, like skins, whatever.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask what the DLC does that's different.
Yeah, just purely cosmetic stuff.
Got it.
Well, I mean, it was kind of discounted because Game Pass, whatever. I found out there was more to this game than I realized. Like, what we're doing was scratching the surface. When a class reaches level 10, you can unlock new missions to unlock new weapons for your class to have. So if the gunner has a chain gun as his main weapon, I now unlocked this 3-part mission to unlock a new weapon for that class, which is like basically a cannon, like a portable cannon. And but then once you unlock it, you got to pay for it to have it, in-game currency. Nothing else in this game outside of skins is. You don't buy new weapons with real cash. So I got that cannon for the gunner, and so the driller has a flamethrower, but now I just unlocked the option to get a cryo cannon. So now I can freeze enemies if I want to. So I'm assuming every class has an alternate main weapon that they can switch around with. I don't know what the other two are that you and Matt were playing as. Still haven't checked that out yet. But also just unlocked a feature for the ship where you can buy minerals or trade minerals. So if you don't have a specific one, you can either buy it with cash or the in-game cash, or other gems that you have they might have too much of that you don't need, and you can always exchange it for that. So that's pretty cool.
Because you use those to upgrade the ship and things like that within?
It's like you get more features as you level up your rank. And then from there on, like it just things open up a little bit more. You kind of get it's like, I'm terrible at explaining it, but like when you first start out, you get the gist of everything, right? It doesn't really change much from that as you level up. It's just cool to have more options on how you want to do things. So like, there is you're now aware of that center hub computer where like I was picking the missions for us to do. There's a computer behind that where you can pick submissions to do, and it's like a string of them where it's like you complete this consecutive amount and then you will get this big reward. And after that big one is done, it opens up all these new ones, which is the weapons, or you can get like a piece of armor or another feature on the ship probably, which is like that mineral trading thing. I was watching the devs do a live stream the other day because they've been like slowly leaking new content through those live streams. And I was starting to understand like what they're doing versus what like we were doing. And the way they're playing, it looks like Left 4 Dead. Like constantly. Like just enemies are just endless. They're just jumping around and everything and like reviving each other left and right. And it's just like this hectic nonsense and mess, but it's so cool at the same time. Like they have, we haven't unlocked it yet, but there's a thing called deep dives. So like imagine going on a mission, but it's 3 parts. You're not done after that first one. You have 2 more things to do. And all your nitra, that red gems that you use to order like a resupply thing, that and your gold all carry over between all 3 of these. And it just means you just get a bigger payout in the end with everything. So I don't know how far away I am from that, but there's stuff I'm still learning as I'm going about this. Like I've been going to wiki and like kind of learning things here and there, trying to learn the names of stuff and get the terminology. Still having a good time. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it by myself. Like obviously I still prefer to play with friends because that's what the game is meant for, and that is the like at its best. But I don't mind playing alone if I'm just grinding to get stuff or whatever. Like me being a different level from friends doesn't impact anything. It doesn't make it worse for you. It doesn't make it worse for me because the levels are different or whatever. Everything still plays the same. Enemies still take the same amount of hits. It just depends on how your stuff is modified and what your stats are like based off of that.
I dig that. I think the Left 4 Dead comparison I never would have imagined for this game, but it makes sense that as you would scale up and you have more intense missions and things like that, that you would reach that point of interactivity. But yeah, I mean, you had already played a bunch of the game before stepping in, and even though I only played whatever we played, an hour and a half, 2 hours, it felt like we had both had not the same amount of experience, but like you said, it didn't impact anything on my, you know what I mean? Like we were doing the same mission together. I feel like I still had advantages over you just because of my character class. Like the fact that I had a grappling gun, like,
dude, that grappling hook, top tier.
Yeah, which is super cool.
And I also unlocked more mission types that we can do that I didn't know that were existent.
And are they available to me as a lower level?
So that string of like submissions you can do that I mentioned.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of like the tutorial in a way. That's its way of introducing you to all these different things that you can do. I think because I did it. I think because if I'm hosting, you might be able to have access to them.
Okay.
Or if you can if you have free time, you just want to try it for yourself, you can also do that too. But one of my favorites was there's this big drill dozer that goes on its own.
It's a big GTA game.
Yeah, that's all I kept thinking about. But like you can ride on top of it, and it will go until the fuel stops, and you have to refill. It's like these 2 tanks, and they have like lasers on them, and they can suck up these oil gems or like minerals that are on walls or whatever. You have to fill them back up, put it back in the drill, keep it going. If anything attacks it, you can repair it and keep it going. And then its goal is to reach this big sphere that has like 4 layers of different kinds of rock that has to go through to reach this core of like this glowy orb thing you have to collect. And as that's happening, waves of enemies are coming in. The big sphere itself, as you break through the layers, starts throwing obstacles at you. Like it starts with like a weird like electric beam shoot out of it, and it tries to throw craters at you. These weird like spikes come up out of the ground, try to shoot lasers at your dozer while it's trying to drill and do all this. So it's like you're trying to fight all these like the swarm off while dealing with that, and then you finally get it, and then you still have to make your way back to the ship after all that. Oh, it was pretty cool.
And that is Game Pass on PC and Xbox, in case you want to try it out. Speaking of Game Pass, Other Ocean Interactive has announced a release date for an upcoming game called Project Winter. This is an 8-person multiplayer survival game coming to Xbox One and PC, both on Game Pass, January 26th, with PS4 and Switch releases planned for a later date. The game, you complete a series of objectives as a survivor. Eventually, you want to call in one of several rescue vehicles and escape. It all kind of takes place like in winter, in like a winter landscape or whatever. It looked like from the trailer, like, in and out of a cabin, things like that. One of the 8 of you will be a traitor, or traitor, as it is known. And as a traitor, your goal is to stop the survivors from escaping without being identified or killed. You'll earn in-game currency for round completion, and then you can use those to purchase cosmetics for your player avatar for next rounds. But I think the art style looks cool. Other Ocean, this, I believe, I didn't double check myself. I just did it off memory, so now I'm checking to make sure I don't say something stupid here. But I believe these are the folks who made IDARB.
Okay.
Which also was Game Pass.
Is the traitor like? Is the traitor like a creature or just a bad dude?
It's so you're playing as 8 survivors in the winter.
Yeah.
And you're just people.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like the Thing kind of situation because I was getting those vibes.
Yeah, no, just people.
Okay.
So that's coming out. Speaking of winter, if you're out there and you're cold and you missed out on the Metapod sleeping bag to keep yourself warm, and you've always dreamed of being able to sleep with Gengar, great news. Announcement has been made this week that you can begin pre-ordering. I believe today might be the last day for pre-orders. I did not fully translate the Famitsu article for this, so I think today's the last day for pre-orders. Don't know. Either way, I'm sure you can track it down if you really want it. For 25,950 yen, aka about $250, you can get this big old Gengar. It kind of looks like a giant Gengar beanbag chair, if you will, except its tongue rolls out into a full sleeping facility, and you put your head in its mouth.
I've seen like non-Pokemon themed things of what this is. It's like one of those like weird like head pillows that you put your head inside of in your arms, and you can like lay at your desk or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, I'm impressed with the Pokemon sleepwear that's been coming out. Like the big Snorlax beanbag, actually.
Yeah.
Like the Metapod. Now this. Like how did you pre-order this?
I did not. Looking at it, and I'm like, I'm saving up for Xbox Series X, Super Nintendo Switch. I think I might pull the trigger on a Mega SG, that analog thing. And yeah, doing all that, I'm kind of like, maybe I don't need to buy a Gengar sleeping bag. Also, I don't know where I'd put it, man. I've been doing my best down here to convert everything a little bit more to have less stuff like a Gengar giant sleeping bag in my basement.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you pre-order, the orders begin shipping in June to reach you.
Wow.
Speaking of Pokemon, and speaking of Gengar, I don't have Gengar in my party, but I do have a new cool ice bug moth thing that I've been playing Pokemon Sword again. Specifically, I've been playing through the Crown Tundra, and so the Isle of Armor I wrapped up, which was June's DLC, and the Crown Tundra came out in October for Pokemon Sword. And again, man, I said this when I talked about the Isle of Armor. I think that this is hopefully a kind of test bed for what the next generation of Pokemon will be, because I think what they've done here is really transform the gameplay. Obviously, the core gameplay still is catch, battle, level up, evolve, etc. But I think that there's a bigger emphasis on world lore in these DLCs, and I think the ability to wander around an open space, albeit smaller than a traditional open world, it still gives you a sense of exploration that I think the Pokemon games had not done before. Like, I'm lost right now. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Where in Pokemon before, you'd kind of just be able to move like, well, I'm on Route 2, I'm going to go up to 4, and then I'm going to be in the town. And then I'm going to go up again until I get to the next town. And that was the same way this one was, basically. But these new open areas are like, I'm wandering around. And also, I did the thing where I rolled out of Isle of Armor into Crown Tundra. The main story beat hit that gave you the list of objectives and kind of what you should start doing. Then I didn't touch the game for 3 months. And I don't remember any of those little story beats. So I'm kind of like wandering until something tells me what to do. And thankfully the game accounts for that by letting you go back to the main building you're in, and you can talk to the if you guys recall, this story set off with a father and daughter, kind of like she wants to go adventure on her own, he wants to hold her back. So that guy, you're now kind of working with him to go find the daughter and also solve the riddles of the land. You can go to him at any time, and he says, like, what are you working on? And it lists out the 3 objectives you're supposed to be working on. And when you tell him which one you're working on, he's like, looks like you still have a little bit more to go on that one. Do you have any questions about anything? And then you, like, the one, I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And he was like, maybe you should talk to all the people in the town first and take a look at the statue in the center. And it was like, got it. Cool. Now I can go start doing that. One part that's really neat that I started getting into just last night was this game, or this expansion really pushes the legendaries as part of the forefront of the story, and I think deeper into the lore of Pokemon and something there. I don't want to speak ahead of what the game's trying to do because I'm not quite sure yet, but there's this like mysticism chapter in the legendaries, which admittedly there always is with Pokemon games, but there's something where it's like they're putting some sort of special weight on the impact that legendary Pokemon have on the world within. So wandering through this little small open world, you find a couple of temples, and I think at some point you do get these like kind of pieces of paper, like part of a book or something, that have like parts of the lore missing. And as you work through the land, you're filling in what the book says, kind of like you're writing the story or whatever. So I found this like stone door and walked up to it, and there was like a riddle on the door, and I just kind of dismissed it as, I guess I don't have what I need, and moved on and caught a couple Pokemon. And this is when I was still kind of like getting my feet back into Pokemon. But last night I wandered all the way up this mountaintop. It was really cool. Like, it felt like an adventure. Like, it felt the same sense that you got from Breath of the Wild, like just climbing up anything and getting to the top. Like, it felt like that, even though you're not climbing, you're running along a path, but doing that and fighting Pokemon along the way and getting there. And I think the other neat thing is there are no trainers in this area, so it's just you and Pokemon. And remember, this game has the Pokemon in the overworld, so you're seeing things. It feels like alive, but it also feels abandoned because there's no trainers. It's just you on this weird, cold adventure. So I climbed to the top of this mountain, and there's this big, like, temple. And entering the temple, there's, like, secrets, but, like, I can't do anything yet, so I had to, like, work my way back down. But I find another thing, and I'm able to go into that thing. Like, there's a riddle on the door that said, the first Pokemon should hold that which makes it stay forever. Something, it was some like esoteric riddle like that. And I was like, do they want me to give an Everstone to the Pokemon in the first party slot? Did that, clicked on the door again, door opened right up. And I was like, okay. Then you go in and you fight, I think that one was for Reggie Rock. So you fight all the Reggies. Not Fizami, but Reggie Rock, Reggie Ice, Reggie... I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know their names.
Reggie. So you fight all them, and then you have the opportunity to catch them as legendaries. I left from there and wandered around. There's this big old tree, and as you approach the tree, it just cuts to a cutscene. And this was the coolest thing in the world to me. I don't know why, but it's, I guess, shiny versions of, or not even, but like they're weird looking special versions of the original 3 legendaries. So Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. So you're first greeted by this like black and red Moltres who just like comes scrawling out of the sky at you screaming. And then to your right, Zapdos, this like cool looking Zapdos comes charging to interfere with the falling Moltres.
It's like a chocobo.
And then this like rad Articuno, like they all just look so cool. It's like if Toriyama designed the legendary birds or something. Like it's just like full on Dragon Ball whatever, and they're all fighting and they just kind of scrawl at each other and then fly off into opposite corners of the world, and now you have to go adventure and find them. So there's like continual like hunts for legendaries as part of this game that again like has that big veil over the whole story of like mysticism and whatever. And I don't know that they'll quite stick the landing. My guess is they probably won't because it's still Pokemon, and I don't know how far they'll push things like that. But it is interesting to at least see a game in the series do something that is not so straightforward and not so like formulaic. Like they really break the mold with this one, which is so, I hate that I just said that, but like they're really like, they're like, how can we think differently about making a Pokemon game? And I think they've done some interesting things with this.
Did you have a favorite of the birds originally, and then did it stick with the new forms?
I haven't seen enough of the new forms to say that one of them changed, but Articuno and Articuno. So yeah, kind of.
Like Articuno was my favorite out of the 3, but I'm kind of liking the Zapdos.
Yeah, the Zapdos is really cool looking. Looks like a bandit.
Yeah, I'm liking the like Roadrunner look.
Yeah, he's got that scrappiness to him. But yeah, no, Articuno's still number one. And I don't know if that's because I had the affinity towards water Pokemon and he was the closest thing to a water Pokemon out of the birds. I don't know if it's because he's the first legendary bird Pokemon card that I got. You know what I mean? Like,
it's that tail.
The tail, too. Ice is just cool. No pun intended. But
whatever. That was intended.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I'm right from Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze right there.
I learned from the best. You just reminded me I didn't watch Jingle All the Way at Christmas, and I'm upset. I know. But yeah, you don't need to do much in Pokemon Sword to get to the DLC, and I honestly feel like if you've got the itch, it's probably worth it to buy one of those, like, total, whatever they have, like, the complete pack now where you can just buy the DLC all in one for $60. I think it's worth, if you're looking for a Pokemon game to play and we're waiting, because we're probably, the 25th anniversary is starting this year, so we're close to some Pokemon announcements, I would assume, in the next month or two. They usually like to go February and announce whatever they're doing for the year. But in the meantime, if you're like, I want to play a Pokemon game, I would recommend doing it. You just need to get to the open area in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is really, it's only like 2 hours in or so. Not even, maybe. And once you're there, you can access both DLC campaigns. I think it's worth it if you want to see that stuff. But even if not, I really just hope that whatever Nintendo is doing next, or the Pokemon Company is doing next with this, that this is the template for that, more than anything. But I also have a feeling they're just going to remake Diamond and Pearl this year and do it in like a more traditional style.
If you were to do alright, I just want to play the DLCs, get to the open world, were the Pokemon in those worlds scaled at all, or are you going to have some kind of team?
That was my question.
The Isle of Armor stuff, it was a little bit more, they were lower, like the stuff I'm seeing now is 65 and above in Crown Tundra, from the get, but in Isle of Armor they were lower, but still a little bit higher. But I think by the time you would reach the open area, or the wild area, sorry, I keep calling it the open area, the wild area, your Pokemon would be at an appropriate level for you to kind of step into the Isle of Armor, with maybe a little bit of challenge, but you could build a team pretty quickly in the process. And the Isle of Armor, there's no, like, initially there's not a big need to have high-level Pokemon, and you can kind of get them pretty easily. AKA, yes, you could theoretically just buy it and move straight along that path without much trouble. Now, if you have Pokemon Go or any of the previous Pokemon games and you're really wanting to be an idiot, you can go down the path I did and get that Pokemon Bank, Pokemon Home nightmare set up and rolling. But
wait, would that work though? Don't you need badges for level caps or obedience?
You do. They're a little more forgiving in this one in terms of like which badge correlates to which level. Like I felt like I was able to use my legacy Pokemon a lot quicker than I had been in other games. But also I feel like now you got me wondering if you could do any of this stuff in the DLC with that. Because that is a thing where it's like, hey, now Pokemon up to this level will listen to you. But it was like such an afterthought whenever they would tell you that, and it never felt whatever. But yeah, I wonder if that would affect it. Like even if you did gradually grind just from one to the other, if you would be at a disadvantage because you couldn't. That I don't know. Because I did do it the way that, I went all the way through, beat the final thing, and was fine. But I don't know. It's a good question.
Look at me flexing my Pokemon muscle. I still got it. That's why the game hasn't changed since Blue, the one I did play.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you guys this. As we all have done, come and go with this series, if they announced another one that was more of the open world stuff, does that pull you back in at all? Do you have any interest? Or are you like totally out at this point?
I think about it more, but I really like the the let's go approach. Like, I know this kind of adapted it a little bit in the wild area where you kind of go up to the Pokemon. If you want to catch her, you can steer clear of it. It's not the random encounters anymore, but I don't know. I don't know. Hold on. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I guess maybe because they've already adapted the thing I like the best from Let's Go.
Yeah, I mean, that's there, and you have Pokemon that follows you now. Like, whoever's first in your party, you can choose to have it follow you. You're wandering around, and, like, it feels like I'm not going to say it's Breath of the Wild, but it is Breath of the Wild light in a way where you're, like, just kind of wandering and exploring with objectives in mind, and then the side missions are interacting with other non-playable characters and Pokemon.
Yeah, I think my biggest barrier of entry is just, I mean, I know they kind of, like, segregate some of the generations out of the games, but like I know the 151 or 50 52 whatever, I know that number gets skewed or whatever, but after that it is not my knowledge does not go far past that. It's just whatever was in Pokemon Go that I could catch in my local area.
And I think that's a really important factor that I think it's said but not maybe, I think it gets dismissed a lot, but like the familiarity and the excitability of some of these characters really makes an impact. Like if all the characters, and that's exactly what it is. Like I remember when Pokemon Sword first released, I did not like most of the new Pokemon in here. Like they just they weren't cool looking to me. Now I'm finding a couple that I like, but you know, I generally have a party of Pokemon that are from older generations, which is the benefit of Pokemon Home because I can do that. But also like I was wandering around the Crown Tundra, and if you've played Pokemon, you know how much of a pain it is to naturally get an Umbreon or an Espeon. Espeon just chilling in the Crown Tundra, just in a field. And I was like, oh, okay. Just walked up and got, like, you know, so that's the cool part about this is like you're seeing Pokemon that you otherwise wouldn't see in the wild typically. Mark, are you out? Could you be pulled back in?
I mean, I won't say, you know, never to this series, but they would have to do something drastically different. Like I know like this is doing things that are breaking said molds or whatnot, but I think it's just a good starting point. I don't think they're fully broken out of it yet, and I think they're just now getting their bearings with like even when it comes to like transferring Pokemon and like Legacy and stuff like that. Like there was that whole like Pokedex issue when this first came out, with like only certain ones being allowed in or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still Pokemon that I have in my collection. Like I have a Delphox that I love from Pokemon X that I can't do anything with. She is forever trapped in Pokemon Bank.
And I think just like Pokemon as a whole, they kind of overwhelm themselves in a way to where it's like they have to do stuff like that now because there's just so many, and like trying to please everybody is just going to be more and more impossible if they keep going this route. So I think they need to take some control and change this up a bit where it's like make it more character centric, make it more story centric. I mean, like, yeah, they all have a story, right? Trying to be the best, whatever, but like maybe it's not about being the best. Like just make a focus on a written character that's not a silent protagonist, or it can be, whatever, but it's just a focused character that has a certain party of Pokemon that you're just stuck with that, but it's about seeing that bond happening and make it more like Final Fantasy 15 with the fighting.
Oh, interesting.
If it's more action oriented, I think I would be more enticed to play because I'm kind of done with the turn based for now. At least with Pokemon, I don't know. It just something about it just feels. I don't know. I feel hypocritical just saying that because I played Digimon games that were all
no, but it's a thing, man.
I think the word you're about to use there is stale, and I think that's fair.
I'd rather just be the Pokemon. You know, I don't want to tell them what to do. I just want to be them.
Yeah, like
poking inside of a Pokemon game.
I'm poking. Hold on, you're going. That's too far now.
I was looking at the upcoming releases and looking at money I'd started to put aside and realized that I had money set aside for Hitman 3, and I'm like, what are they doing that I haven't done before? Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's great, and there's an expansion, and there's a story I want to see and all of that, but I'm like, I know what that game is, and I think that, you know, new ideas are hard to come by, and they're dangerous as a developer because you can't stray too far. And I hope that this stuff they're doing here is them taking the right steps in a new direction, and that the next game doesn't revert back to what we're bored with. But
or if it's like a spin-off game, like doesn't, even if it like, I would
yeah,
still
just give me
that.
something that changes it up.
Yeah, but there's plenty of spin-off games already. That Mystery Dungeon remake just came out. Or maybe not just came out, but that was out last year.
That's still
the
like
Let's Go series
strategy.
for the more casual. You're about to get me back into Pokemon with that MOBA that's going to be from Tencent here soon. Like, you got all kinds of stuff. You can brush your teeth with the Pokemon. Like, I don't think spin-off's the way you want to go necessarily, unless it's a spin-off into a genre that you want. Also, Mark, I'm holding my Astro 850s here, because you said about Pokemon, and there's too many of them. You probably are looking at the prototype for the next Pokemon in the next generation, where this is called Astro Leaf. This is a branch. These are little leaves, and then these things spit whatever a leaf attack, like
hate.
Leaf Blade or whatever.
They just shoot hate at the other Pokemon
so,
and make them upset.
I feel very happy, or I feel so accomplished with Pokemon design that I feel like I could help design the next generation.
Call up
It's gotten
Masuda.
real lazy. It's gotten real lazy. We got a Ghost Chandelier out there. Come on. We're just pointing at things and figuring out how to make it a Pokemon. At this
That's
point.
innovation, I tell you what. Along with the apple pie. Speaking of games that dared to be different, Breath of the Wild, while it's changed the formula for Zelda and moved things around, it did pull a bit from Nintendo's past, as discovered this or confirmed this week by @HeyI'mHeroic on Twitter, who confirmed that after previous speculation, an advanced version of Miis are the basis, in fact, for NPCs in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It had been previously discovered that NPC file names contained Umi, that's UMII, and speculation was that these were some sort of advanced version of Miis. The confirmation this week by Hey I'm Heroic shows how Miis can be converted into a character in the Breath of the Wild engine. So you have to use modding tools, but there's a thing in place that basically you can grab a Mii, plop it in this tool, and it will output a corresponding NPC in Breath of the Wild. And it's cool seeing them side by side. They used Barrett from Smash Ultimate and imported Barrett. The original, if you remember, from Wii Sports, Matt, the guy who destroyed me in boxing all the time, he's here. The user themselves, Alice, put their personal Mii in the game. And then the gunner from Smash Ultimate is shown here. I also saw a couple other ones. So there's a GitHub repository that show the tools off to do this. And they showed a picture of Reggie's Mii turned into Breath of the Wild NPC. I saw a couple of things in the FAQ for that GitHub page. Basically, a lot of people will run into error if they do weird things, like if the nose is above the eyes, things like that. Like if you did any of those weird faces or tried to like make something silly or strange, that broke it. But generally, you can kind of do this, which is cool that like there's that heritage there, and they were able to like use something like that to like quickly populate this world of NPCs. But I also wish that like it had gone a little further and imported these things from like your friends list or something. You know what I mean? Like if the NPCs in the world were made up of Miis you already had, which, thinking about the Miis you may or may not have on your system, are there any Miis that you think would make a good NPC in Breath of the Wild 2?
I've seen this person, like, was it considering doing commissions, and then I think was starting to do commissions for people on Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so many people were requesting Hank Hill. I was like, all right, there's some faith in humanity here. But like, out of the Miis that I have from what I mentioned before, I still have that Carl on my 3DS. I'm curious to see what he would look like as a Hylian.
Yeah, a good Carl Bertanen on a Lusky. Tonight. I don't know who else I have that.
I can't remember. Did we talk about it on air or right before we recorded? But we really need the Check Me Out channel back. Like now than ever. More now than ever.
Yeah, it's like this reminded me more than anything of like the weird Nintendo stuff. Like I miss Street Pass so much.
Mitomo.
Huh?
No, what?
Oh
No,
yeah,
no.
Mitomo. Yeah, right. Like just that stuff is just gone, man.
Yeah.
Like it sucks. It's like I remember there was a Patton Oswalt article like almost a decade ago now about how nerd culture won, but at what cost was kind of the thing. I forget who he wrote it. I think it was like a Wired article or something. But the idea was just that like superhero movies were like top of the box office, and now everyone, even the people who probably 30 years ago were beating up some kid for liking these characters, are now first in line to go see this stuff. And it got there, right? And it's like Nintendo like went through the Wii U years of like people being disinterested or jaded or you know whatever, who cares, and now switches back with a vengeance. And like it's now, I mean, we haven't heard yet about where it landed in December, but as of last month it had been the best-selling console for 24 months straight. And like that's Nintendo at its height, and it's where it is and whatever. But like at the same time, like we lose out on so much of that weird charm that I think can happen. You know what I mean? Like they streamline stuff, they got a machine that like appeals to the masses, but then you kind of miss out on that other side of it. It's like when Sega stopped making hardware or games.
It's like they're safely experimental.
Yeah, like they take risks. That's not to say that they don't, but it's not in the same way that like when everyone else was doing so many things with mobile devices and whatever, they were like, well, let's just do Street Pass, which makes absolutely so much sense, but it completely went like it does follow trends in a way, but it also was like something different than what you'd expect.
Yeah,
I don't know. I missed that element of weirdness from Nintendo. And one more Breath of the Wild little piece just to note: Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, spirits from the game, or rather, characters from the game will be added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in the form of spirits. So these usually, I don't know if you guys, I still do this whenever one, a new character comes out, or two, I'm just like in between, I don't know what I want to play, but I'll throw on Smash and I'll run through a spirit board really quickly. And usually when they add these new spirits to the game, you'll see them showing up on the spirit board where you can kind of take them out.
I've never done a single spirit board.
They're fun. They're like just neat little, you know, if you remember the adventure mode or the whatever it was called,
World of Light, right?
Yeah, the world, like all those things where it's like to fight Isabelle, you fight, or not Isabelle, to fight the Able sisters, you fight two Sonics or whatever. It's nothing but those, right? Like it's just all of these characters, and you're just doing those little weird challenge things. But I think they're fun, and I think I'm curious to see how characters like Impa and stuff are pulled into the game.
I was going to joke that I did complete a spirit board. It was the first world of World of Light.
Oh, yeah, I mean, in a way. Yeah,
long,
Smash
massive
Brothers
board.
When that second world opened up, and then there's a third after that.
So I was debating the second world, and then when you said there was a third, that's when I was like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Speaking of too many worlds, I think that's the perfect segue for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if you want to do that.
I did want to do that after a short break.
Okay, fine. We'll let it hang.
No, I want to give you time to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And kick off the back half of the show with it. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to hear about the world. Matt, I'd like to create a perfect segue now into you talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, so, this game...
Here is a perfect segue.
So, remember, last week, I think it was at like the 2.5 hour mark with this game. and I was kind of getting some grasp on some of the systems and whatever. Well, I continued to play it throughout the weekend, and then when I got to the 5-hour mark, when I sailed away from the first map of Norway, it finally appeared on my screen, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, like, you know, all in like their opening credits, things like that. And from that point on, I knew I was in trouble because that was 5 hours into the game, and it just showed me the name of this game. So, yeah. So
it's an Assassin's Creed game, right?
Yes, it's an Assassin's Creed game. And this is, now I know why people were so upset about how long the Odyssey was. And I guess
I think Odyssey was like particularly long, right? And then they had all that DLC and stuff that made it even longer.
You know, remember there was that article I think we talked about earlier this year that made me interested in the game when they said, "Hey, we might make this shorter because of the feedback." Well, if this is short, it's, you know, it's 80. Right. It's only 80 hours, guys. Don't worry.
Right? Yeah, it's not 90 hours.
So I'll just start with like the setup here. I finally kind of got the gist of the main story here. You play as Eivor. I talked about this last week, but like you are with a particular clan of the Vikings, and as the Raven clan, you kind of got fostered into the king's family. So the heir to the throne, Sigmund, is kind of like your foster brother, but you have a very close relationship. So there is a king, another tribe of Vikings in Norway, has kind of politically gotten everyone to agree to peace and become kind of like one unit of Vikings. Well, without Sigmund's knowledge, because remember he is an heir to the throne of the Raven clan, his dad knelt to the king and pledged the clan to him, so we can make this peace and unite. Well, Sigmund is mad and takes a portion of the settlement of the Raven clan and takes them to England. And you, as Eivor, because you're his brother or whatever, you follow him. And that it's pretty much you and his clan trying to establish yourself in England. In England, when I saw the map for Norway, I was kind of weirded out because the initial power level, one of the things the map does is like is so sectioned off, and it tells you like the necessarily power level you want to be at when you go into these things. So I thought it was really weird when Norway was like the bottom part of it was like recommended level like 1, and then very up top it was recommended level like 280. I'm like, that's quite the jump. I wonder how we get there so fast. And then we sailed to England, and then now I see where like the patches of England slowly go up, where I assume the story would take us back to Norway at some point. But yeah, that's kind of how the main story structure of this game works. Because you're trying to establish yourself, create alliances, that kind of thing. You go to someone in your longhouse, and then she gives you these different options of what settlements you have to go to. Eventually, you're probably going to have to do them all, but you can kind of do them in somewhat of a particular order as long as your power level, I guess, it works out. Like, I could go to the 160 at 90. I probably would get my ass kicked, so I am just kind of following the pattern here. But she assigns you that territory, you go there, and then from there is usually some kind of like drawn out, probably hour and a half, 2 hour, depending on how long it takes you to do that stuff, quest line revolving just in that area. So already there's just a bunch of story threads going on. I think that's one of the problems. I would probably call it a problem with making this game too long, is there is like 7 different story threads going on at the same time. You have the Raven clan itself, like you getting yourself together. There's a premonition very early on of you betraying your brother. So like you're starting to maybe see why that happens, but like you have that going on inside the clan. You have the actual story mission going on, you know, in the other territory where you're trying to become an alliance with them that really doesn't have too much to do with your clan besides just doing the favor to get the alliance. What else? You have the Assassins Guild. They're called the Hidden Ones in this game, and the Templars are the ancients, or the ancient, the people of ancient old times or something like that. I don't know. It's the Templars though. You have that storyline going on that's tied into all of this, tied into the Raven Clan and these other territories, because you have a whole codex And it's kind of like the Nemesis system, except they don't replace the dude and create unique characteristics. So just think of the Nemesis system screen and how like the rankings kind of went up. It's just that, and then you are trying to slowly take out all these different Templars along the way as something else. So you have that going on. Oh, also you can take this weird elixir, go to sleep. Guys, guess what? Surprise! There's a third map. You go back in time to or go to another realm and play out stuff in Asgard, because Valhalla and Norse mythology. So yeah, I went to Asgard. I fought people from Jotunheim trying to invade at the Bifrost. So I was like, all right, and this has its own story going on, and you can kind of go in and out of that map depending on like when you want to go take this elixir or whatever. So that's its own story thread now, which is this whole other map. Not a terribly huge map, but still another map. And like, oh, and then of course, because it's Assassin's Creed and there's an animist involved, you still have all that stuff going on. And I don't know what's going on with that. I watched a 10-minute YouTube video trying to get that all explained to me. It seems like what happened just in like Assassin's Creed, like just development history. They had an idea with Desmond, they completed it, and they said, oh shit, we still need to make Assassin's Creed games. They did these one-off things, and then with Origins, they tried to reboot like a narrative like structure throughout these 3 games, and that I'm joining in the middle of that. I can catch myself up in-game. I would just have to read thousands of pages to get myself caught up, and they're all in a computer somewhere, so like I'm not doing that. I'm kind of happy with the 10-minute YouTube video that I kind of know what's going on. So like you got that all involved in this. So like just the story threads, you can kind of just start to see like how much there is to this game. And I'm not mad about the size of England, because it is massive. Or like, like the story mission, like I think like once you do the main story missions, like usually it ends up with you doing some kind of huge raid that I kind of talked about this last week, I think, but like that really remind me a lot of the good parts of Shadow of War before it got really repetitive and stale. I'm still having a lot of fun with them, because there's just enough where I'm not doing it a lot, but I'm still having fun with it. Or like it requires you to do the assassination of someone, and I think those level designs and you stalking your prey and waiting for the exact moment to jump and to like kill them, get in and get out like undetected, I think that stuff is still really good and one of the biggest hooks in these games, and I do enjoy doing that. So I'm having a blast kind of going through the main progressive stuff, but like the Ubisoft checklist gets in the way so much because I just get distracted, and it's my fault purely because I'm the one seeing the little yellow dot in the compass that says there's a piece of gold. Oh, well, I can go get that piece of gold to upgrade my weapon. Oh, and just 100 meters further, there's another one.
Not your fault.
There's another one that has the a supply catch for me to base build. Because guess what? There's a base building mechanic in this game that you want to level up your base so that in that way you have more renown across England. So like you have to get your resources to do that. Also, you got to make sure, because some of these power levels jump pretty high, so you want to make sure you're doing enough side quests or picking up enough of this gold to get experience, and that way you keep going through the skill tree to get the light attack +2 or the stealth damage +1.5. Like you want to make sure you're still doing that, so that way you're not underpowered when you go to the next story beat. It is just a lot.
Is it? This is what turned me off of buying Odyssey, is because I knew how much went into it, and like, you sound exhausted, so correct me if I'm hearing you wrong, but like, so I've been playing Persona 5 Royal, as you know, and in there's a lot of systems as well. Like, you have the social system, which, like, every day, no matter what, like, I will get a text message from a friend or some acquaintance that I've made that's like, what are you doing? You want to hang out? And you have to make that decision. Do I want to hang out with them? Do I not? If you do, your bond with them goes up. And if it's someone who's a party member, you end up getting a better, like, you get more things you can do together in battle. But you're also leveling up their persona type. So then any personas of that type, think of it like Pokemon types, right? Like if I level up my relationship with the fire guy, then all the fire personas get better. So like there's that benefit. There's also the stuff like I need to be working on knowledge and charm and all those like personal stats to get myself better so that I open up other parts of the world. There's jobs you can get, there's books you can read, there's places you can, there's all of these things, but I feel in Persona 5 at least not overwhelmed. I do feel that my decisions matter and that I need to make sure that I'm spending my time correctly, but I never feel like I've made the wrong choice, and I never feel like I don't know what I should be doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot, but it's a manageable a lot. Do you feel like that weight of it crippling you, or do you feel like you can kind of like, because there's been times like in Persona, there's also, I talked about there's like the main like palaces you're going to infiltrate, but there's also something called mementos, which is like the game's dungeon. And that is like, it's the same idea as the palace, but it's kind of like just a multi-level dungeon that you're slowly going further down into. And that you can kind of do at any time. And I usually wait for, like, similar to one of the ones you were describing, like I wait until I have like a couple of these things that I can go do in mementos, so I can spend a day and just do 5 of those things all at once, like take out 5 mini bosses, so to speak, and then come back out of mementos. I'm leveled up for the palace. I've done this to increase whatever. I've earned new items. Like, do you feel like that's at play here in an effective way?
Like it's at play. Like you're always getting something. You're always getting a level, or like you're getting maybe a new piece of gear that you could level up, or you're getting something for the base building. But like I just don't know how much that stuff matters. Like I'm getting the check marks, I'm getting the progress, I'm seeing it all. But the only thing that I feel like I'm benefiting out of is the levels to increase the skill, the power level on my skill chart, which I mentioned it last week, reminded me a lot of the sphere grid, and I think this is actually one of the best parts of the game is how you level up. What they do is, and it's very much like that sphere grid. It fractures off into 3 different sections. One is like more bow oriented, one is more stealth assassins oriented, and the other is like your warrior, like dealing damage kind of thing. But what I think it does that's so smart, instead of it all being completely hidden, they give you like the main skill that would be in the middle of that little like circle or zigzag or whatever they give you. So like you can see like, oh, I could get that ability if I head in that direction. Well, shit, let's go in that direction. I'll hit everything along the way. So one of the things I saw early on was dual wielding is a thing in this game. You can do it with shield. You can do it with like pretty much any kind of weapon except for two-handed weapons. Shield? Huh? You
can have 2 shields?
Can't have 2 shields because there's not an effective weapon, but like I can have double axe. I can have double axe. I can have an axe and a hammer. I can have an axe and a pike and a hammer. Like I can mix and match it. And there's like a dominant hand system and a non-dominant hand, because you really only can do like one attack. But if you kind of combo it, you can get different animations depending on what weapon set you have or whatever. So like the combat doesn't feel as good as it does in God of War. It doesn't feel as good as I don't know, like it's like there's another one I just played that was much better. Oh,
Demon
like
Souls.
Yeah, like, well, nothing.
No, but that was my other question from last week. Like, I know that early on you were not feeling super hot on the combat. Like, has that gotten better now that you've opened up the world a little bit, or does it still feel like a facsimile?
The combat itself hasn't gotten better. Like the actual mechanic of like, there's just something that's not. It feels like loose, or it doesn't. There's just something there that is not making it so satisfying. The only thing that's satisfying is like the last blow of your weapon like usually goes into the head, and you kind of feel that weight of you like dragging them off, like swinging it off your axe, or like you just feel that last hit of the hammer and you send them flying. Like that stuff's incredibly satisfying, but the actual act of taking someone down hasn't really increased, but they've thrown in different enemy varieties. I like mixing up my weapons. Like I don't think I've really experimented with the weapons as much as I have in this game, just because of the offhand, dominant hand, and how like just switching. If like, say I have a hammer and a pike, you know, I can have the hammer in the dominant hand, the pike in the non-dominant hand. If I just switch that, I get like a different animation and kind of a different moveset or whatever. So like I'm still like experimenting which one I like. Right now I'm rocking the Thor loadout. I got a a hammer and shield, and I'm just whacking people with it, and it feels great. I don't have the lightning and the thunder. I wish I did, but I'll take the hammer blows because it's great just to see people fly when you get that last strike. What I have found though, like very early on, I was just like, there's dots everywhere in that compass, and you're like, oh, which way do I go? Do I go here? Do I go here? Do I go here? And like I started running in a direction, and I started like raiding and looting and doing all that stuff. But then I found out like, oh shit, the main story quest took me to there. Oh shit, the main story quest is taking me there now. Oh shit, the main story quest taking. So like I'm kind of learning that like I should just do the main story stuff until I need like power levels, and then maybe go out and do the other stuff. It's funny, like I just even after like kind of learning that lesson, I found this like little remote thing that I just ran into because I kind of want to get the synchronization point. When you climb up the tower, the age-old Assassin's Creed thing, and you hit the Y button, and you look around, and then you have that map revealed. Yeah, that's still in this game. So I saw one of them. I was like, oh, let me get the territory so I can see what's going on around here. So I did it, but it led to like it ended up being a full-on raid. It was a whole area. So I was like, oh shit. Well, took it all out, but it seemed like so remote, like in the middle of nowhere, that I was like, oh, let me do all the looting because there's a couple dots in this little village. Let me get all the supplies, do all that. So the extra 20 minutes or so to make sure you clear out everything, you find all the hidden stuff, all that. Well, main story mission took me there, and it was great because you're like, oh, after you got victory, you go up and blow the horn. While you arrive in the town, like, oh, this looks familiar. Oh, there's a lot of dead bodies here. Oh, let me just climb the tower and blow the horn, and it just gave me instant victory on the objective. So, like, there's stuff like that that's happening. It's not all a waste of time, but, I'm just finding that I should just stick to the main story until I need to do some side stuff, or like if the shiny thing's like really close, just off the path, I kind of deviate that way. My limit is 70 meters or less. I've kind of put that into place. If it's 71, I'm not going. If it's 70, I'm going. Yeah, but like I said, that skill tree is my favorite thing, and that's where I was getting at. Like, there was a thing I saw all the way at the end. I saw it instantly. I was like, oh, I'm getting it. I can dual wield heavy weapons. So weapons that should be two-handed, I now only need one hand for. And so now I have this two-handed axe that I can pair into my non-dominant or dominant hand. And any of those weapons, like a pike or things like that. So like that just opened up the doors even more. And I found that like that's one of my favorite things in this game is that skill tree, is finding the skill I want, going along the way, and then get into that skill and how that makes the combat or the stealth stuff so much easier, and I feel more powerful, and then I feel like I could maybe not need 160. Maybe I can do it at 130 to go into that territory and start wreaking havoc or whatever. So is that the game? There's a lot. It's like a shotgun blast of things to do. Like there's so many, and just like a shotgun blast, some things hit, some things don't, some things feel like a total waste of time, some things are a lot of fun to do, so I will seek that out. But some of it's gonna just graze. Like it's interesting, but it's not the thing I'm gonna like actively seek out. But man, like I said, the main story stuff's so fun. Like when you are set free to go into an area, try to stalk around, look for essentially your prey because you're a victim, and like if you can scope them out just right, like get it in without being seen or not alerting the entire crowd, killing the person and then getting out without being seen is still so highly satisfying in these games. Years later after the first one, that is what keeps bringing me back, and that is why like I'm close to 30 hours in this game. After like not being sure if I was even going to keep playing it after the next couple hours this time last week. So, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm going to complete it. This is definitely one of those games where, like, once I feel the burnout, I'm just going to drop because I who knows? I was just being told it could be 80 hours, but, like, I don't know that for sure, depending on how, I guess depending on how you play or whatever. So, yeah, it's, that's kind of where I'm at. But, like, some of the side stuff is, like, dumb puzzles. Like, the Joker... It's like the Riddler challenges. Like, line up this picture of some Asgardian or, some Norse mythology thing around these, like, Stonehenge rocks. It's like, that's not fun. I'm not playing Arkham Origins anymore, Let's do something else. They straight up stole the Far Cry thing of like hunting exotic animals. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not going to get anything probably that useful out of it, so I'm not wasting my time with it. There's various things like that are just not hitting the mark, and when I get close enough on the compass to see what it is, and I was like run the other way. I'm like, I'm not even wasting my time. So it's pros and cons overall. Generally, somewhat happy feeling about the game, but like I said, I'm not married to this to the end yet.
You're playing on Series X, right, for this one?
I am, yes.
Have you, just not necessarily specific to Assassin's Creed, but stuff like Quick Resume and some of those Xbox Series X features, like, are you noticing any of that stuff? Is that...
So when I first got the console and I did the Shotgun Blast, when I was going across Carrion and like Watch Dogs and some of that stuff, it was really nice just to have like 3 games like boot like right from rest mode. I haven't really experienced it too much because Yakuza was on disc and Assassin's Creed was on disc. But to be honest, like with those games, I pretty much like if I was turning on my Series X, it was to play them. So I'm not getting the as I get more Game Pass stuff and get out of the buy 2 get 1 free deal that I did with all those disc games, I'll probably see it more. But early on, when I was going back and forth between Carrion and something, whatever disc I had in, it worked well. It was just. It is a nice touch. And speaking of Series X, so just to put into perspective load times, I did notice that the load times for this were a little bit longer. Not like crazy long, but like, they weren't the blink of an eye. They were like 5, maybe 10 seconds at times. I was like, oh, weird, because Yakuza, I blinked my eyes and I was in the next section. Watch Dogs, I pretty much like transported almost. Or like, and then Miles Morales, like I fade to black, fade back to black in less than a second. I was in the next spot. Like, but with this game, there was like a 5-10 second load. I was like, huh, interesting. So I asked a couple people at work, 'cause I know they were playing on current gen, and they were like, oh my god, yeah, fast travel takes like 2 minutes. I'm like, ooh, woof. Maybe they were exaggerating, but yeah, it's one of those things where like, all right, time to pull out my phone, scroll through Twitter. Oh, I'm backloaded in. All right, great. Like, let me keep going. Yeah, I could not play this game on this current gen or on those consoles because I fast travel everywhere. I have just because it's so overwhelming. I get distracted so easy. All right. What's the nearest fast travel point you can get to? All right, great. We'll sail from there, or I'll ride my horse and we'll do whatever. But I'm not doing the 2,000 meter horseback rides throughout England.
No, I'm getting excited about Series X because I'm 1 paycheck away from putting the rest of the money aside to grab one. So hopefully they start coming back in stock soon. Although I feel like I read something that they don't expect stock levels to really get back to normal or to a regular point until like April. So I might be out of luck, but
I just have to keep an eye out. I still see it pop up, and I still follow the Wario64 Twitter. I don't know why. I think I'm just too lazy to not do the
undo that,
the notifications. But I still see it pop up from time to time. So if you're aware, you can get one.
Yeah, so I'll be chasing that down soon enough. But I haven't really been playing my Xbox because every time I turn, like I did Sonic Forces there, and I'm playing through Sonic Adventure 2 here and there. But like the next thing I want to play on there is Yakuza 0. And I got it ready to go, ready to play. But like, I'm so deep in Persona 5 that I just don't want to start another big game right now. Like that, I need that to be my big game and get through the rest of it. But absence from the Xbox One and returning to it again, I know it's not, but like seeing the menu and seeing the store page and spending time in those things now, I'm like, right, this is like a different console in a way. Like it's not, because it's still the Xbox One and like whatever, but like I'm remembering like that's the big cool thing about the series, not the cool thing about the Series X, but like what Xbox did this generation of like, not like, yeah, there's new hardware, but like it's still like it feels new to me, even though I don't have the new thing yet. And I'm like, God, the new thing's going to be that much better for going through this awful store. And the store is a lot better than it used to be, but it's still like super slow and
Oh yeah, she's snappy because they had that. They were ending like their holiday sale or whatever, and I was scrolling through just to see if there was anything. Not that I need anything because I got Pikmin on the horizon here. I got there's other stuff out there, but yeah.
No, that's what I was doing too. And speaking of which, I was trying to find on multiple platforms, just taking a peek at fighting games that are on sale. And would you consider Super Hot a fighting game?
Super Hot?
Super Hot.
Yeah, no. There's not even a multiplayer thing about it.
There's so many games that show up under the fighting genre that are like, what are you guys doing?
There's people that label beat-em-ups as fighting games, and that's always confused me.
Yeah, they're all in there too. Like
I get it, you are
Final
fighting,
Fight,
but fighting usually means competitive against another player.
Super Hot, its first genre should be a shooter, and then its second genre should be puzzle.
Yeah, no.
Like
I kept seeing it show up under fighting game on both platforms, on PlayStation and Xbox. Looking through sales and looking through fighting games. Also, last night, just as a fun experiment to see, I was like, I wonder if I could find PS2 games on PS4. I had to go through so many store menus to try and find PS2 games. I don't even remember where they were at this point, but it was all the way, whatever category I eventually found, it was all the way to the right of the category. There's 4 little things, and at the very bottom it said PS2 and PS4. But I went through like so many like logic chains to try and find it. I even searched just for PS2. Nothing. It shows you like, I forget the movie now. Some dumb movie that's like that contains PS2 in the title somewhere. Speaking of finding secrets in video games, back in March of 2018. A year after its release, NieR Automata director Yoko Taro said in Weekly Famitsu number 1527 that there was one last NieR Automata secret players had yet to discover. This week, 3 years and 10 months after the game's release, it had been discovered. Lance McDonald, a video game modder, said, quote, this is on Twitter, I found a cheat code in NieR Automata that allows you to skip to the last ending immediately after killing the first boss and unlock the bonus modes. It's not a glitch, it's an actual cheat code hard-coded into the engine. After the discovery, Yoko Taro confirmed that this is real, that this is the one. And there it is. Which is I really liked that something weird like this existed in that game. You know what I mean? Like, or in any game at all.
It makes total sense. Like all the way from like what was it, pulling out the main chip to get an instant game over. Like this just makes way too much sense that this is in the game. Yeah,
looking back at NieR Automata, like we gave that game of the year, rightfully so. But I think even I like discount how good that game really is as a video game, and I like really, really, after reading this article, really came to like kind of reappreciate the like how much they like lean into it being in the medium of video games, right? Like there's certain things that like Mark and I were talking about comic books this week, and you sent me that Flash panel, right? Or that Flash page. And like, that's something that can't exist in a Flash cartoon, a Flash movie. It only exists in a Flash comic, right? Because comics can do things that other things can't. And so can video games. And NieR Automata was like exemplary at showing like something like removing that chip to have a game over. Like that doesn't exist. You could do that as like a gag in a TV show or a cartoon, but it wouldn't play the same way as feeling it and doing it. So yeah, the fact that sitting down, part of like, okay, what are some weird things we want to have in this game? Oh, I want a cheat code that lets you jump to the end of the game. Sure, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't you have that in there? It's just wild. And it makes me even more excited for NieR Replicant in a couple months when that drops.
In case anyone wants context with that Flash panel, Trickster threw an atomic banana peel in front of the Flash, and Flash was nonstop skidding to where he went out into space. He could not stop slipping.
It's pretty good.
There you go.
Pretty good. Also this week, another secret discovered. Street Fighter Alpha 2. So a programmer that goes by the name Gizaha on the Zeldix forums has discovered a cheat code to unlock Shin Akuma as a playable character in the Super Nintendo version of Street Fighter Alpha 2. It was first released in 1996 and was the first game to contain Shin Akuma, which is, of course, the demon character version of Akuma. The code, which has been verified by Event Hub reporter Dakota Hills. Don't know why that's. I don't know what importance they have in terms of verification of this. But the code requires the player to. This sucks. So it's like it's a code, but you have to do stuff to do it. So you have to complete the arcade mode with a new high score. Then you need to enter the initials KAJ, return to the title screen, hold down L, X, Y, and start on a controller in the second player slot while the first player controller is used to navigate the game's versus mode. At this point, either player would be able to use the newly unlocked Shin Akuma by holding the start button while selecting Akuma. If everything was done correctly, Akuma's gi will turn purple. The programmer Gizaha claims that the method was discovered as they were attempting to reverse engineer Street Fighter Alpha 2 for Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This is cool. Like, we keep seeing stuff like this. Like, a couple weeks ago, we talked about those arcade games getting ported to Dreamcast, and just like people that are like finding weird stuff in old games is exciting to me. Even when it's something as new as NieR, but also like, what other secrets are out there somewhere from games that, you know? Do you think that they're like, do you think, probably not, but because I feel like we would know at this point, but wasn't Goro in Street Fighter in Mortal Kombat 2 but not playable until later? Or one of those? Like, has anyone figured out ways to do that legitimately without hacking or anything?
I'm not sure with any Mortal Kombat trivia.
Because has anyone been able to play as Polygon Man in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale? You know? Perhaps people have unlocked Bomber Girl in an old Bomberman game. I don't think Bomber Girl ever existed in old Bomberman games, but Bomber Girl does exist right now in open beta testing for a PC version of the Bomberman spin-off arcade game Bomber Girl. This is available through Konami's Amusement Game Station service. This is all Japan. So if you're stoked about hearing this and wanting to try out Bomber Girl, don't be, unless you find a way onto Japanese servers to do so. Cool, I think you can play it right now during the beta, but the beta is over as of, I believe, tomorrow. If you're hearing this, immediately upon release. This version of Bomber Girl is treated like an arcade game, so you have to spend 5 tickets to play, and 5 tickets can be purchased for 110 yen, so about $1. Users who participate in the open beta test will receive 10 tickets or 2 plays as a free starting gift. I don't know. I've seen this game. I remember when this game got announced for arcades in Japan. I looked at it and was like, that's cool. I wish they would put out like a console version of that.
I don't know why I thought it was a phone game.
It may have been too. I don't know.
It just looks like it just has that style to it. Like, this would be a mobile game.
I just remember it being announced and being like, oh my god, they're making games again. What's happening? Yeah. So maybe this is on its way out to other things, although the fact that it's PC beta, treating it like an arcade game where you have to buy tickets and then use those tickets to play, I don't know that necessarily translates super well to a console, but it's not out of the question entirely. What is likely out of the question is you getting your hands on a PS2-inspired PlayStation 5. At the point that we're recording this and you're hearing this, pre-orders have opened and I assume swiftly closed. I didn't follow up on this after seeing the initial story, but a company called Super 5, of course that's SUP3R5, announced PS2-inspired PS5s with adjoining PlayStation 5 DualSense controllers. Expected shipments are due to reach buyers in late spring 2021. Full consoles start at $649 for digital only and $749 for disc versions. For those keeping score at home, that is the $250 more than the original cost of the console. Controllers went for $99 a piece. So only 300 of these consoles would be produced and 500 of the controllers would be produced. But they look hot. And it was the first time I saw a PlayStation 5 that I wanted to buy. So
like
hopefully...
that controller a lot.
Yeah, the controller's really... Just, man, celebrating that classic PlayStation logo on that controller, that is super good. And I wonder, I didn't look too far into this, but does the PlayStation logo on the front of that PS5 rotate as you rotate the PlayStation?
I wonder.
Yeah, that's the question of the year. What does rotate is Mark in Star Wars Squadrons.
That was good.
I do what I can. Yeah, you got into the ship. You went for a flight. I've been okay. So I got a little admission here. I was going to, after finishing Metroid Prime and thinking about what's next on Wii U for me, I was gonna make a mistake and spend $50 on Star Fox Zero, and didn't, because $50 seemed like too much to play a prettier version of a game I've already played a whole bunch. And I replayed the demo and I was like, I'm good for now. As someone who is a longtime Star Fox fan, does this scratch that itch at all?
I'm gonna give that dumb answer, yes and no.
Yeah.
Okay, so seeing what this game is now, getting a taste of it, it's kind of what I expected when I saw a video for it, whatever, right? Like, it's just your typical, you get in the ship, you shoot other ships, rinse, repeat. Which isn't bad. I like that. I didn't do any of the multiplayer, which I heard was kind of decent. I only did, like, maybe an hour or two of the story, and it's fine. So, like, from a game standpoint, I just want to go in and shoot stuff. I don't care about the story. As a Star Wars fan, I used to be really... I was more into Star Wars, like, years ago than I am now. Now, I just care about the dogfights more than anything, but, like, I think my peak Star Wars fandom was Jedi Outcast. Like, when that first came out, and I was just obsessed with that game. Just everything around it. I kind of like Shadows of the Empire one, but I sucked at it. But this is... It's like, I like it, but you can tell that this was more built for VR. And I think you would have a better time. I think you would get the full experience with VR versus playing it like mouse and keyboard or controller or whatever. It's still playable. Like, it's still fine. I like how the ships are controlled. It's not just... Yeah, like, it's a little disorienting to do first person if you're not used to that, because if you come from, like, a Star Fox background, you kind of feel... You feel more in control, oddly enough, when you're in third person versus first person. But it doesn't take long to get used to this. They have a cool mechanic for each... Like, all the ships kind of control the same, too, so it's not too alienating or disorienting if you're switching between different ships. But I like how they have this mechanic where you kind of have to pay attention to what you're doing the whole time. Like, the mechanic, though, is you switching between 3 different modes for your ship. It's you have these 3 little, like, sections, and you can... It's pretty much you converting your energy into what part of your ship you're trying to function. So you can put all your energy into firing, you could put it all into maneuverability, or you could put it all into shields, or you can make it all even. On top of that, you can adjust your speed. You can stay at a steady pace, or you can go all the way forward, or you can be super minimal. If you want to be more like dodging stuff and turning better, you want to lower speed so you can make sharper turns. What I wish this had, like the Star Fox in me was like, I want to do a barrel to have it deflect things, or I want to do a somersault to have an enemy stop giving me a tail and they can go in front of me or something. You can't do any like flips, you can't do any loops. I mean, you can spin, but not in a way that is Star Fox. You just hold in that direction. It doesn't do anything. It just makes you dizzy. But like every time you're being chased, your friends will tell you that you have a tail, and you just have to convert your energy if you really want to avoid them to your maneuver stuff. Slow down, do a couple sharp turns, and just hope for the best. And if they're shooting at you, turn on your back shields. So it's cool that you feel more in control of trying to manage your energy while trying to do everything, while trying to like fly around, be protective, and take out enemies. Taking out enemies does feel good. It's cool to lock onto somebody, and then when you're ready, you can just see like you flip on the heat-seeking missiles and takes them out. Or if you're taking damage, you see your windshield cracking and everything, and you can pick your R2 unit to like start fixing your ship, and like that's all cool. So that part of the game itself is cool. The story feels like, because this is where it feels like it's built for VR, because everything is so static. Like you're on a space station, you have a crew, you flip between both rebels and the Empire, and like you make a character for each side too. Very limited preset faces. Pick one of 3 voices. None of them match the faces, but whatever. And you go with it. But like everything is so static, so everybody's just talking to you as if it's like you're on like a 4D ride at Disney World or something, where everyone's just like super neutral and like generic about everything. Like the story doesn't feel important at all, but yet it's up to you to do everything, and just I don't know. It feels very like visual novel-esque, the way they just stand there and then they say their generic thing that's so like it doesn't move the story. You don't feel connected to anybody. They try to make you seem like this is such a cool cast of characters, and you want to connect and be friends with them or whatever, and feel like a tight knit unit. And it's just like I'm not feeling it from either front, game or Star Wars fan like front. Maybe it's just me. I'm just too critical with that stuff. But it got to a point where I was like, I just didn't care about any of it. I wish I could walk around. I wish my presence had more of an impact instead of just move my cursor over to this speech bubble to talk to a person, and then now I can move on with the story, because you have to talk to them first before you can go back into playing a thing. So I'm just like skipping everything that they're saying, because no matter what you do in the story, I know what I have to do. I shoot shit. That's just what it is. Just let me shoot shit. So
yeah,
I guess
at the end of the day, that should just be, you should just be shooting, and then any story should pop up in the middle of a mission or something.
Which I guess is the multiplayer, right? Like if you don't want any of that story stuff, you go into that and whatever. But yeah, like it. I don't need everything super handed to me like that in between stuff. It should just be just as you're going. But but the gameplay part itself, I do enjoy it, but I think I would enjoy it more it being in VR. I think just because the way it's first person, I think the moving around wouldn't feel as weird as it does. I think it's cool with a controller, but I don't know. I want to feel. I think I started with mouse and keyboard, then I switched to controller. Actually,
you need to get one of those flight control things like from Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Thought about it, but I don't know. It's fine.
Did you finish it?
No, I only did like an hour of like the story or whatever.
Do you want to finish it?
I don't know. I'm not attached to anything else in that game. Like, it just seems too. I don't know. It's weird. Like, yes, it feels like a Star Wars game, but at the same time, everything around the combat doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. It just feels like I just went on a ride and everything's just hunky-dory and super safe and filtered. I don't know. It's just very, very formulaic, I guess. Like, it felt like a last-minute thing they had to put in there to try to make it seem more meaty than what it is, and it's like it's trying to overcompensate for something it doesn't need to overcompensate for. I think simplicity is fine. I don't know. It's a solid game, you know, like it works, it's fine, but if you're trying to be invested in a story, I think it's pretty shallow.
That's actually what I was going to say. No, like, for as good as Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was, the story was not, like... There were some cool moments, but it was the moments, not the actual build to any of that stuff, that made that game fun, so I understand the story kind of...
And I guess, like... Too. And I guess with a game like that, too, it's like, maybe people don't expect too much with a story anyway, kind of like if you're, like, playing, like, a first-person shooter. Like, I know for... Maybe more so now, shooters have a more engaging... single-player campaign, but there's times where people just didn't care about that. They just bought the game for the multiplayer and just want to have fun with that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I've given up. I mean, as someone that also follows Star Wars stuff, like, I've given up on Star Wars being this A+ writing material stuff with the new, like, now I just go, if the movie's fun, at least I enjoyed it. If it's not, then that's when it's bad. And I expect kind of the same stuff out of the video games. If the story's somewhat coherent and has some cool moments going on, I'll buy it. If not, as long as the game's fun, I guess that works.
Totally agree with that. There are, like, the way you can customize the ship is pretty cool, but you have to unlock everything pretty much through multiplayer only. Like, I thought I could complete a mission or two to, like, get stuff, but I don't think, unless I missed something, I don't think the single player rewards you for any progress. I think it forces, and, like, multiplayer, I'm always kind of finicky with, because I don't really like playing with other, like, people I don't know, and I'm not that competitive of a gamer. I just, like if I had friends playing, I think I'd be more inclined to try that stuff. I don't know, but maybe one day I could probably jump back in and just see what it's like. Maybe it's not that bad, or if I do get a VR headset, maybe that will change my opinion on some things or whatever. But overall, it's a fine game. It's safe.
Well, while we wait to see if you...
Right?
Huh?
Oh, wasn't this game? This game's like full price, $40, not $60 or $70.
Yeah, which is not bad either. It's a good incentive, and I got it for cheaper because it got on sale. So I only paid like $13 for it or whatever.
Nice, yeah. So like, I think that's another thing to consider. Like, yeah, it might not be the meatiest single player, but if you like dogfighting, I don't know.
It should be coming to Game Pass soon too.
Right? Yeah, I forget about that. Yeah, I'm still waiting for NHL 21. That season's starting soon, by the way, the real one. In a week, Ovechkin takes the ice.
Would you say you're going to be stepping into the next level at that point?
Huh? No? What? Oh.
Well, Nintendo this week leveled up a little bit, acquiring Next Level Games. The owner and directors of the company had decided it was time for them to sell some shares. I guess so the way Next Level was set up is that all of the owners and directors in the game had stake in the company, but I believe every employee has some stake in the company. And the owner directors decided they wanted to sell, so Nintendo bought the majority of the shares, aiming to, quote, secure the availability of Next Level Games development resources. The acquisition is expected to close on March 1st, 2021. Next Level Games, of course, most recently made Luigi's Mansion 3, but also has, in the past for Nintendo, made that good Punch-Out game on Wii, Metroid Prime Federation Force, Luigi's Mansion 2, Super Mario Strikers, among others. I can't remember everything else. But yeah, they've pretty much exclusively worked with Nintendo on all of their most recent games. So it seems like an easy get for them to pick up the studio here. What do you think they're doing next? What's the franchise?
Metroid Prime 4. It's about to get rebooted.
Just no more retro. Just moved over. Oh man.
And they're not making it. It's not Metroid Prime 4 anymore. It's Federation Force 2. It's the game we all want on 3DS.
You know, who did Do we know who did Mario Hoops 3-on-3?
I don't know.
I never played that.
I've always been curious to try that one, though, because that had Final Fantasy characters in it, so I don't know how much Square was involved with those characters. But I know you could be like Black Mage, White Mage, and a Moogle.
Wait, how did that work how did the Black Mage work in basketball?
I mean, I'm sure they all kind of play the same, but it just maybe had like a trick shot or something. I never played it, but I assumed it's like some kind of trick shot with magic or something, like a fireball or something like that.
Thundaga, right through the hoop, boom, 3 points.
Yeah.
No, I feel like I've played. I don't know. I'm excited about. I mean, they've always worked close with Nintendo, but I'm very excited about this because they made Strikers. I did not know that. I knew they made Federation Force, and that then the last two Luigi's Mansions games. But yeah, no, I'm that's kind of like the next sports game I want anyway. Is the new Strikers, because that GameCube one is superb when it comes to Mario Sports, and I have high expectations after how good Mario Tennis was. Aces, I mean.
Tennis that's Camelot, right?
That was Camelot, but like just in regard like their entire sports franchise. Like,
yeah, we definitely need more like sports games that aren't the Olympics from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Just go all in on just one sport. Make it Nintendo as heck,
The problem with the Olympic games, like I know they're mini game fest, but like I always had this negative connotation of the Olympic Games anyway because of the past development of the Olympic Games and how shitty those games were.
Aren't they more like Sega focused?
What do you mean?
I guess more specifically the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games.
Well, yeah, these ones are different, but I think have that negative connotation of like when they try to make like officially licensed simulation based Olympic Games, they were not good.
I only played one that was on the 64, and I don't know if it's a good game, but I remember liking it.
Funnily enough, last night laying in bed, I downloaded Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics 2020 and was playing through that, and they're just dumb little mini games that you do that aren't great, but also I feel like you guys might like it. From what I understand, the game is a Super Mario Run style. You play the first few worlds for free, and then you got to pay $10 to upgrade and get the rest of the game. But it's Super Mario Run at least had a game there. You know what I mean? Like this still has. I know, but this game still has the like mobile trappings behind it. It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, you might be able to pick that up on sale when the Olympics might actually happen this year.
Oh man,
I
forgot.
I don't know, man. Tokyo just had another state of emergency, so
I said maybe.
I'm curious to see how this all shakes out. But yeah, I know they're locked down for another until like February.
I mean, this is getting off topic. The other part about this is like they already are kind of like in a bubble city, so they just kind of like tested. So like it's not great, but the bubble city stuff does work. There's evidence there from the NBA and the NHL that it works, and the MLB. Then when the MLB bubbled up for the playoffs.
Yeah. Speaking of Nintendo, Microsoft tried to buy them. To celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Xbox, Bloomberg conducted a series of interviews about how the original console came to be, and part of it involved finding out what plans Microsoft had for partnerships and acquisitions. Microsoft had met with Konami, Tecmo, to try and get games on the system, but also explored the possibility of acquiring Nintendo, Square, EA, and Midway. Obviously, none of those happened. The comment from the former Microsoft employee regarding the meeting with Nintendo is basically imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That was kind of how the meeting went. Bloomberg also asked Nintendo of America chairman Howard Lincoln about the meeting, and his response was that Nintendo does not talk about confidential discussions with other companies. In any event, nothing came of these discussions. And then the account of the Microsoft meeting with Square, they had submitted a letter of intent to buy Square, met in early November 1999, They had a big dinner with the CEO and Steve Ballmer of Microsoft at the time. The next day, we're sitting in their boardroom, and they said, quote, "Our banker would like to make a statement." And basically the banker said, "Square cannot go through with this deal because the price is too low." Packed up, went home. That was the end of the deal. But of course, not long after that, you'd see the merger with Enix. So that was a fun little tidbit of the year. And I wonder if Microsoft will do anything to celebrate the 20th anniversary this year of Xbox. I'd assume so, but time will tell.
They'll probably do something. I wonder if like they just do that periodically. Like, hey, company, big company like EA, do you want to buy us? And then they kind of shit their pants when Bethesda said yes.
Yeah, it's, those conversations are probably always happening. One anniversary we completely missed last week, and one that is also happening this year, in addition to Microsoft's Xbox, The Legend of Zelda, and Metroid, is, of course, Kid Icarus. So maybe Next Level Games is working on a Kid Icarus game, but what would you want out of the 35th anniversary for Kid Icarus?
I know a lot of people want Uprising on Switch, but the way that game is designed, it's probably going to be so painstaking to try to translate that to modern controls. I mean, I think it could be done, but I think you could just make another game as well.
Yeah, I think just a sequel to that one.
Whenever Sora, whenever that company, whenever Sakurai is freed from the Smash Brother chains that bind him.
Probably not for the 35th anniversary is my guess.
No.
Yeah. Well, I have a similar thing. I was going to say, why don't we just make another Fire Emblem character in honor of Pit for Super Smash Brothers?
Oh my god.
I don't know who the closest one would be.
Oh,
from
they
Fire
should add
Emblem.
Magnus to Smash.
Oh yeah, they should add Magnus to Smash.
There's a Magnus in Uprising.
Yeah.
He's basically like a meathead Cloud.
Yeah.
Well, Cloud's a meathead for the first bit of 7, so, not too far removed. Yeah, I have, no attachment to Kid Icarus, so I don't know what would be appropriate besides a Fire Emblem character in honor of Pit.
I think that or a sequel to Uprising is kind of basically perfect.
Yeah.
That is going to bring us to the end of the Free Cheese, episode 384. If you're listening to this on Monday, guess what? Stay tuned for Friday, when our Game of the Year podcast goes up. So all week long, we will have or maybe trickling into some of the following week, but our personal game lists are going up. But we are recording Game of the Year. That will go up for Friday the 15th with our picks. We're doing it a little bit different this year, so it's going to be a single episode. You will hear the single episode that's probably just longer than a normal episode, potentially. Yeah, we'll explain everything at the top of that show, but we'll have that and all the winners on the website Friday. Between now and next episode, do you guys have any big plans for what you're playing?
Assassin's Creed.
I do.
After a deep breath.
Yeah.
I do have a plan. I just don't know when it's going to happen, if it's next week or the week after. But I'll let you know then.
Hitman comes out, right? Aren't we there?
Hitman comes out on the 20th, I think.
Oh, okay. I'm probably going to get that on the PS5.
When is the
see what's up with that?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're doing cool stuff with the triggers and stuff. What'd you say, Mark?
When does the Medium come out?
That's soon. That's soon really soon, because I keep seeing it on Game Pass's thing.
If that's next week, I'll get that a crack.
Xbox Game Pass, baby. God, so good.
Yeah, I'm still playing through GG Aleste. I'm stuck on this one level in Aleste 3. It's a tough game, but really like it. And then I've also started to go back through the other games in series as part of that Aleste collection. And man, they really made good top-down shooters. GG Aleste 3 is or 3 is really good, but 2 surprised the heck out of me too. Because 3 is made, this year with modern sensibilities and design and everything. The other one was an actual Game Gear game that just feels, I don't know, it's a really, really good shoot 'em up. So I've been playing a bunch of that. I did try the Monster Hunter Rise demo, and it feels like Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, but way prettier.
RE-Engine on Switch, right?
Yeah, I think the first example of that, and it looks really good. It plays really well. I didn't rage quit, but the closest thing to that, because I picked the bow for one of the things, for one of the missions I was doing, and I'm not good with the bow nor practiced with the bow, and it got to a point where I was like, I want to go eat dinner anyway, so I just kind of like turned it off and stopped at that point. But I did do one full mission with the longsword, and it's good. I don't know. I'm going to play more of that demo this week and just see kind of where I land. You get 30 quests you can run through as part of that demo. And one thing that's really cool that I learned at some point during TGS and forgot until yesterday when I was trying to finagle through the buttons, you can ride the dog. Mm-hmm. You just hold A and the Palamute becomes a thing you ride, and you can just sprint through the land, and you can attack things, and you can, get resources while still on the dog's back. Pretty rad. You can even do like a leap off of the dog and like do an attack midair. So really cool. And they kind of do things where, like, I took down one of the bosses, and then it was like, hey, you should mount this boss before it dies so you can fight another one. And then they're kind of like tutorializing gameplay in a way. It's really fun. That's out there. That also broke the eShop Thursday night. I don't know if you guys were on your Switches at all, but I was trying to download it and just never like hit the home screen, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then like I tried to do something else and the eShop wouldn't load, and then I tried to connect. I forget which game I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna play this, and like I couldn't connect to the server because it just everything was down because everybody in the world was trying to download Monster Hunter Rise.
That's how you know a game's gonna make money.
Oh yeah, especially on Switch with all
Print money. Doesn't make money, prints money.
Yeah.
But that is it. So stay tuned for another episode. 385 will be back next week. But this Friday, of course, Game of the Year, and that'll drop in the same podcast feed. No need to go anywhere else. We'll be back then. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Have a great week.